We're going to go ahead and get into part 4 of our series, Parables. How many of you have been here throughout this series, Parables? I've really enjoyed it. I hope that you have too. I hope that it's challenged you in some areas, because I believe that a group that is challenged can be changed. And I believe when we're changed, that's when we can truly create change wherever we go. In our spheres of influence, we can actually be a part of changing our sphere. And so that's the heart behind this whole series. And so I want to welcome at this time all of our prison campuses. How many of you know that you not only happens here, it also happens on prison campuses? So we're glad that you guys are with us. It's great to be with family. Also want to welcome all of our YouTube watchers. Thanks so much for tuning in from wherever you're at. Great to be with you as well. But we're going to get right into it tonight, because I know that you're in the middle of school right now. It's like that middle point in the semester. Does anybody have spring break coming up? Or are you guys, how many of you are on spring break right now? Oh, wow, then I've got like till 11:30, we're good. I'm just kidding, I won't go that long, just kidding. Bring them back. Matthew chapter 5, we're gonna look at verses 14 through 16. And if you were with us last week, we talked about how Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is actually called the Sermon on the Mount. It is the longest sermon that Jesus did, and it's also one of the most popular in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. That's 3 chapters of just power-packed teaching from Jesus. And how many of you know that Jesus is the ultimate teacher of the Bible? He is incredible at teaching the Bible. In fact, Jesus and the Word are one, so he's very good at talking about the Word. He's very good at bringing the Word across in a very relevant way. That's what parables are. Parables are just simple stories that bring about moral or spiritual truths. And so Jesus was telling these parables to go ahead and make it make sense, to make it relevant to people in that day that he was talking to. And aren't you thankful for relevant teachers and preachers even in our day today? That you don't come to church and you don't have to be bored. Like, church can be enjoyed and not just endured, and you can actually relate to it. I think that's one of the great things about the Bible is it's been around for a really long time, like 2,000 years, but it's still really relatable. You just need people to relate it to you. So Matthew chapter 5 verse 14 says this. It says, "You are the light of the world." This is Jesus talking, and he's talking about us. "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and give light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." So Jesus is telling us that you and I, that we are a light, that we're called to be a light. He's saying a city on a hill shouldn't be hidden. If you've got a light, you shouldn't put a lamp under a bowl. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you wouldn't want to, if you have a lamp, put it under a bowl. Doesn't make any sense. And in that day, they used candles. Think about it, they didn't have electricity, so they're using candles, and when they turn on a candle, it would light up the whole room. You take away that light, they can't see anything. So Jesus is basically saying, hey, light is gonna help you to see. It lights up the whole room. Have you ever noticed that a chandelier, in the middle of the room, or in your kitchen, how you'll have the light in the center of the dinner table? It's the light goes in the center. It goes high and on a space that's seen and in the center. Why? So it can light and infiltrate as much space as possible. And so Jesus is saying that we are a light. But how many of you know if we are a light, then Jesus is actually the capital T-H-E. He's the light. He is actually the source of all light. He's the source of it. And I want to show you just a couple scriptures that kind of speak to that. First of all, in John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5, it says this. You can just jot that down if you're taking notes. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made, and nothing has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." How many of you are thankful that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness hasn't overcome it? I don't know about you, but I'm really thankful that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness can't overcome it. But I think it's interesting that Jesus is telling us here that, hey, I and the Word, like, we're one. We're one. The Word and Jesus, they're one. And some of you need to know that tonight, that Jesus and his Word, they are one. They're one and the same. Because in John chapter 8, if you flip over a few pages, John chapter 8, verse 12, Jesus was speaking to people, and it says he spoke to people once more, and he said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness because you'll have the light that leads to life. Can I tell you that Jesus is the light, that his word is the light? So if you want to walk in the light, then you have to be obedient to his word. Following Jesus, being a disciple of Jesus, looks like being obedient to his word. It's only when we're obedient that we're actually walking in the light. And so we have to be obedient to his word. But first of all, it starts with us knowing that Jesus is the light, and he makes us light. Jesus is the light. He is the source of it, and he makes us light. So I have two things that I want to share with you that I think it's really important tonight, and you can keep your attention for about two things tonight, right? I think like 1, 2, like it'll be done that quick. So 1, 2, we'll be good, but two things that I believe you and I need to understand about light. And the first thing about light that I think that we all need to understand is that light, it illuminates. Think about it. Light illuminates. And if you're taking notes, put in parentheses, a path. Light illuminates a path. In fact, in Psalm chapter 119, verse 105, which I'd encourage you to jot that down, look at it later, it'll be up on the screen. It says that your word is a lamp to my feet. It's a lamp to guide my feet, and it's a light to my path. See, Jesus, through his word, illuminates the path that we're to take. You want to know how to walk on the right path? Just look into the Word. The Word is full of answers to all of life's questions that will keep you on the path. I'm so thankful that God's Word is like a lamp unto my feet so I can see where it is that I'm walking, and it is a light to my path so I can see out ahead and know the next step to take. Some of you have been wanting clarity. Can I tell you there's clarity for every area of your life that can be found in his word. If we'll just open up his word, and I believe one of the things that we need more than anything as a generation is a passion for his word, knowing that his word is the only thing that will illuminate our path and show us the steps to take to live a godly life that looks like Jesus. See, and when it illuminates a path, what does that mean? I believe that light guides. I believe that light will guide you. I believe that light reveals. I believe that light directs a path. See, light will reveal things to you that you need to change. Light will reveal adjustments that you need to make. Light will reveal things to you. It'll help you to walk in more of a clarity about your life, and it'll go ahead and guide you into whatever it is you need to be guided into, and it'll also give you direction. I don't know about you, but when you have no idea where to go, it's good to have a guide and it's good to have direction. Have you ever been somewhere where you had no idea where you were and you had a tour guide and you thought, thank God for this tour guide, so I would have no idea where I am without this tour guide. I believe that through the Holy Spirit, the Word of God, it can be your tour guide throughout this life. See, the Bible gives us a blueprint of how to live a life in the light. See, that's why all throughout the New Testament, Paul writes, walk in the light as he is in the light. You see the word walk in the light. How do you walk in the light? By walking in obedience to the word. That's how you walk. That's how you walk in the light. And so we're called not only to walk in the light, but to be light. Think about this for a moment. Think about it. We're called to not only walk in it, but we're called to actually be light. Meaning that people should be able to look at our lives, and we should be guiding them. We should be guiding people. People who are far from God, we should be guiding them. People who, if we've been saved for a while, we've been Jesus followers for a while, we should be able to guide those who just accepted Jesus. We should be able to guide them. See, we should be guiding people from hurt, from brokenness, from darkness. We should be guiding them to help, to healing, to restoration. See, we're called to guide people into something. We're called to guide people. This is important that we know. We're called, people should be looking at us and able to look at us and get direction. They should be able, they should have Jesus revealed clearly through our lifestyle. They should see Jesus. They should see the way to go through us. Can I ask you this question? Can people follow your lifestyle and know that they're being guided into good? Can people follow your lifestyle and know that they're walking in the light? Can people follow your example and know that they're going to be going in the right direction? Because this is vitally important, that we as Jesus followers take an evaluation of our life. Because the light of the word is supposed to be illuminating something for us so that we can walk in a direction that illuminates what it looks like to follow Jesus for a lost and dying world that needs hope, that needs restoration, that is broken. We are called to be that light. But when people follow your life, can they actually follow you and know that they're going in the right direction? Can you actually guide people in the way that God wants them to go? Or does your lifestyle guide them into something different than that? It's something that we all need to evaluate within ourselves. Where would our life, if you followed my life, where's it gonna guide somebody? Because I've found that it's hard to guide somebody away from something that you're continually falling into. If you're falling into the same sin, and this isn't a message to condemn at all, it's just a message to challenge. If you're constantly falling into the same sin, and you're constantly dabbling in the same sin that they are, and you're in the ditch, and they're in a ditch, who's gonna pull who out of what? You're gonna have trouble guiding people out of the things that you're falling into. If you're consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again, this is not a message about perfection. This is a message about direction. Because how many of you know God is more concerned about your direction than he is your perfection? But some of us have taken that and we've gone in the wrong direction because we know he's not concerned about our perfection. So we're like, it doesn't matter about the direction. Can I encourage you and just exhort you tonight that it does matter, that God does care about your direction, and he's given you his word to light a light and illuminate a path that puts you in the right direction. He's not concerned. This isn't a message about perfection. You and I will never be perfect. We sin multiple times per day. If you're like me, multiple. And when I drink caffeine, multiple. You know? Like multiple times per day, we're gonna mess up, we're gonna slip up. But are you striving? Are you trying? Are you allowing grace to empower you to stay on the path that's being illuminated? Or are you not even trying to tap into grace? Are you not even humbling yourself enough to allow God to move you into that path, to allow God to mold you into who he's calling you to be and to walk in the light that he's calling you to? See, because there's a distinct difference between having a concern and going in the right direction and striving to be more like Jesus and not really caring and being apathetic and complacent. And I believe that one of the enemies of us doing anything great here at the U, the call to greatness, has kind of paled in comparison to the enemy's call for us to stay in complacency. But God is calling us to something greater. God is calling us to another level in him, another level of his grace, another level of his glory, another level of revival. But revival only starts when people get hungry to stay on the path. When people get hungry to go in the right direction. When they hunger and thirst, like the Bible says, after righteousness, which righteousness is simply his way of doing and being right. When we start to do that, that's when we start to see real change. That's when we start to see our lives actually make a huge difference. That's when we start to see the life that we're living illuminate a path for somebody else to walk behind us and know that they're following the right thing. That's why I love the Apostle Paul. How many of you know who the Apostle Paul was? Some of you, like a few. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, no big deal. But He was a pretty cool guy. Anyways, the Apostle Paul had a revelation of this. He knew that he was supposed to look like Jesus. The Apostle Paul knew that we're called to walk in the light as he's in the light, but not only did he know it, he had this confidence that he was actually doing it. He had this confidence about himself that he was actually following. He had so much confidence that he was a follower of Jesus, that he was a disciple of Jesus, that he made statements like this. And I love this. I pray that this is my life. I pray that this is your life as well, because I believe that this is the life God's calling us to. The Apostle Paul said this. He said, and you should imitate me. What a bold statement. You should imitate me as I imitate Christ. He said that in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 11. You can look at it later. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, 11. Then he said this. He said, join together in following my example. The Apostle Paul knew the life that he was living. Must have been pretty hardcore and serious about it. He must have known that okay, not only am I supposed to walk in the light, but I'm actually doing everything I can to go in the right direction. I'm doing everything I can to follow Jesus. He said, join one another in following my example, brothers, and carefully observe those who live according to the pattern that we set for you. Can I encourage you tonight? Check your pattern. What does the pattern of your life look like? Seeing young ladies in here, I think this is huge. I think it's important. See, I know what he's promising. I know the sweet things that he's saying in your ear, but what's his pattern? Because the past is always a better indicator than a promise. And sometimes you've got to check the pattern. Because if you don't check the pattern, you'll fall for the sweet nothings. And can we just, guys, I'm gonna go. Too much caffeine. Can we stop the super spiritual act to get a girl to fall for us? Can you stop saying that you're gonna spread the love of Jesus to every girl that you come in contact with? Can we just stop saying that? Can you spread the love of Jesus to another man, please? Because I see you come in here hitting on every girl, but I'm yet to see you want to spread that same love to a dude. I'm yet to see it. Some of you will talk to every girl in this place, hitting on them, and say, I'm just spreading the love of Jesus. Sure you are. Somebody needs to knock you out and show you who Jesus is. I mean that in the nicest way possible. And here's the thing, guys. If we're going to be predators, we don't stand for that here at the U. We want to pursue Jesus, not women. And so if in your pursuit of Jesus, a woman happens to be there, awesome. But until then, can we just spread the love of Jesus to a fellow dude and establish community? Get yourself in a group where you have some accountability so that you're not just hitting on girls all the time. Because I think it's interesting that the same guys that are uber spiritual, that want to spread the love of Jesus, they only end up in a circle full of girls. I think it's very interesting. I think it's captivating and ridiculously uncool. That they find themselves in a circle full of girls all the time, but they're just spreading the love of Jesus. Never seen them approach one guy. Never seen them try to form a genuine relationship. Never seen them join a group. Never seen them get involved. Because you don't want accountability. What you want is to be on an island. And isolation will always lead you to something you don't want. Isolation always leads to death, spiritually. Always. So can I just encourage you? I mean this with all the love in my heart, guys, but as a college pastor, it pains me sometimes to see it. It pains me, if I'm honest. Because I feel this burden to protect the women who are coming here to seek God, and I don't want them running into you when your heart's not right. We need men of God who are willing to man up and address the issues within themselves. Lose the super spiritual act and allow yourself to be dealt with while in the presence of God, so you lose the pornography habit before you start dating her. Vitally important. So the pictures on your phone, there's an accountability partner within a group that you confide in, and you say, hey, these pictures are on my phone. I need help, bro. And we have people who aren't gonna judge you, who love you. Mask down. Can we go mask down for a moment? We have people that love you genuinely, who would never judge you. People who have been there and got delivered out of it. But when you isolate yourself and you're unwilling to reveal that you even have issues because you hide behind a super spiritual facade, God can never heal in your life what you won't reveal. And so while you're continuing to conceal it, you are moving further and further away from God, and you're moving further and further away from his heart, and you're in a dangerous area. You're in a dangerous zone, and you need to be careful. That got a little bit heavy. All of that just to say, if somebody follows your life, what would you lead them into? Men, if a young lady started dating you, where would you lead her? Hopefully not to your bedroom. We'll move on. If someone followed your lifestyle, where would it take them? If someone followed your lifestyle, where would it take them? Would it take them on a desirable path? Because I find that a lot of times as Jesus followers, we're just kind of wandering. No real vision. In the Bible, the thing that I love about it is it's packed with vision. It's packed with vision. See, I have futuristic in my profile, top 5. Like anybody taking the StrengthsFinder test? Futuristic in my top 5, so I love vision. The Bible is full of vision. And I love that about it because it gives me the right path to take. If not, any other wanderers in here, like that you naturally just kind of wander? If you're in a store, you just kind of wander. Like my wife is like a type A personality. Like she has a list when we go to the store. I don't. I'm just like, wherever the sale rack is, awesome. Like literally like we were in Dillard's yesterday and my wife was taking something back and Jude like pointed to the escalator and that's all he had to do. Like her back's turned, she's literally returning it. We go out of sight, we go up the escalator, and my wife knows me so well after 10 years of marriage. We're gonna be celebrating 10 years in July. Hello. And yeah, you can clap for that. It's great. It's great. My wife is hot, and I'm thankful for it. Anyways, yeah, so she knows me so well at this point that literally we go up the escalator, we come back down, and she's just standing there with the stroller, just like shaking her head with a smile on her face. Like, she knows what I'm about to do. She now knows my patterns of wandering wherever. Any of you have been to Mark's right over here in North Canton? Like, we go there every now and then, like maybe twice a year. Probably, if I'm honest, like not that often. I'm only in there like twice a year. But the 2 times that I am, can I tell you that I capitalize on it? Like, she's there with her list, knows everything that she wants to get, and then wants to get out of there as quickly as possible. I, however, the second that we hit the door, I see a land of opportunity. And I know that they probably have Target closeout stuff on aisle 3. And so I am just gone. Can I tell you that my wife has multiple times had me called over the intercom because she can't find me or get me to answer my phone because I am engrossed in shopping for whatever I'm shopping for. I mean, I'm a wanderer. And some of us, if we're honest, in our Christian life, we're the very same way. We're just wandering with no sense of direction. We don't have a game plan. That's the thing I love about the Bible is it gives you a blueprint. The Bible is a blueprint on how you should live. It gives you the game plan. And it's not that God is trying to keep you away from good things or from fun. It's that God is trying to protect you from things that will harm you so that you can experience the great things that he has for you. I believe wholeheartedly that each and every one of you have great things in your future from God. But there are some things you're gonna have to say no to that are good so that you can say yes to the great things in front of you. And I believe that the Bible will always help you do that. Can I ask you one last time? If somebody followed your life, where would it take them? Are you just wandering through life? So anybody that follows you, they're gonna be on a wandering journey to nowhere? Or are you pursuing Jesus? So anybody that follows you will be pursuing Jesus as well. If you're gonna date in here, check the pattern, please. But first, before you even do that, before you check someone else's pattern, check your own. What does the pattern of your life look like? What are those areas that you need to maybe tweak or change and maybe change your pattern so you can change your direction. Maybe for you in here, it's a pattern of thinking. Because in the New Testament, Paul talks about how, hey, if we're gonna really walk as children of light, then we've gotta get rid of grumbling and complaining. See, like grumbling, complaining, and arguing. And some of you maybe come from a negative family that all they do is complain, all mom did was complain, all dad did was complain. So now it's kind of gotten on you, and all you do is complain because you've got the wrong thought pattern. I believe that you could change your thought pattern and start to speak out things of thankfulness. Because until you're actually thankful rather than complaining, you're complaining and entitled and not thankful. And a thankful heart is one that God can bless. A thankful heart is one that expands you on the inside for God to increase you with good things. But an entitled and ungrateful heart and a complainer, they're never even gonna see the blessing if it came, because they can find the burden in every blessing. And it's all perspective, it's thought pattern. Maybe for you, you've got a pattern of a pattern of looking at something that you shouldn't, or you've got a pattern of treating women a way that you shouldn't in a disrespectful manner, and you're gonna have to change your pattern. And I'd encourage you to do it before you start dating again. Make sure that you've changed the pattern. Make sure that you have some accountability in your life so that when somebody else is following you, you're leading them in the right direction. We're gonna move on to number 2, and that is that light invades. It invades. Light invades. And you can put in parentheses, sorry, I can't talk, caffeine. Yeah. Shortness of breath, my goodness. The darkness. The darkness. It invades the darkness. The light invades the darkness. It says in John 1:5, it says this. It says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness, this is the New Living Translation, it can never extinguish it. I'm so thankful that the light, it shines in the darkness, and no matter what the darkness tries to do, the light can't extinguish it. Because how many of you know that darkness, it's simply the absence of light? See, darkness can never take ground on the light. It's only the light that can take ground on the darkness. See, when it's dark in a room, all you gotta do is add a little light. When it's light in a room, darkness can't put out the light. See, if the lights were out in this room, for instance, it would be completely dark. Second you turn a light on, the darkness has to go ahead and go away, because why? Light has occupied that space. Light's occupied the space. So when you see that, you know that we've been called. If we're called light, right? The Bible says that we are the light of the world. Guess what we're called to do? We're called to invade the spaces that some Christians avoid. We're called to invade them with the light. And everywhere you go, you are invading darkness with that light. Because light works best in the darkness. Light was meant for the darkness. I believe wholeheartedly that when we understand fully that we are the light of the world, that we'll not shy away from the darkness, but we'll walk into the darkest situations knowing that where I go, light goes. Where I go, light's coming. If I'm going there, light is accompanying me because I am the light of the world. So light, it invades, and we're called to those dark places. It's so important that we understand this, because then we'll live our lives with a new sense of urgency. We'll live our lives with a sense of excitement that, hey, we don't have to fear the darkness. How many of you know the world that we live in? Full of darkness. The school that you go to, most likely, full of darkness. You don't have to look far to find the darkness. But I'm so thankful that darkness is simply the absence of light. So the second that you walk into the situation, there's no longer an absence of light. You've invaded that space. And I believe that that's what God's calling us to at the U. He's calling us to invade spaces and spheres with light and infiltrate those areas that other people avoid. He's calling us to invade them. and go ahead and make change everywhere that we go. It starts with us having a path illuminated that other people can follow and look more like Jesus, look like an imitator of Jesus, but it also starts with us knowing that we're called to invade the dark spaces and not be afraid of them. Not fear the darkness, but know that we're the answer to the darkness. There's a huge difference. Why is this all so important? Because I think it's imperative that we talk about for a moment, if we're gonna talk about light, that we go back to whose light it actually is. Because we said Jesus is the, capital T-H-E, light, and we are light because of him. So we are simply reflecting the light of Jesus. We're not shining our own light, we're reflecting his. And see, this will make us check our motives. I think the best natural example that we have of this is the moon. Ever noticed, and did you all go to science class? I did sometimes, so I can speak to this at least. But the moon, it doesn't have any light on its own. In fact, it simply reflects the light of the sun. But guess what has to happen in order for the moon to actually reflect the light of the sun? It has to be in the right position. It has to be in the right position. See, there are times where the moon, it doesn't shine at all, but when it reflects the light of the sun because it's in the right position, it can light up the whole night when it's in the right position. See, I believe that God is calling each one of us, and if you're doing this, if you're doing number one, if you're actually allowing the light to illuminate your path and you're actually walking that path, that takes humility. But I believe wholeheartedly that one thing that God is calling this generation to is a spirit of humility. Humility. That we position ourselves correctly so that the light, we can properly reflect the light of Jesus. The light can shine off of us and actually light up the night. There's something about going into the night. I think like every friend that I've had all throughout life will tell you, if you want to do something really fun or go on an adventure at night, like 12, 1, 2 in the morning, like call me, you know? And so even back in college, they're like, hey, if you want to go get a Red Bull like at midnight, call Josh. If you want to know where there's a Starbucks open past 11, call Josh. He'll not only let you know, but he'll go too. He'll be there. And so there's something about just going into the night that is so exciting. It's so exciting to do night adventures. And I believe that that's how every single day of our lives as Jesus followers can be. That there's something so exciting about going into the night, into the darkness, because we know that we're not shining a light on our own, but we're reflecting a light to one who is far greater than us, who has infused us with his power and his grace to shine that light. But the enemy of you shining a light that's reflecting his light is you trying to shine on your own in the show. And so many of us maybe have gotten caught up in the show. And I think it gives us an opportunity to evaluate ourselves, to evaluate our hearts, to evaluate our reason why. Why do you do what you do? If I could challenge every young leader, which I believe everybody in here is a young leader. If I could challenge every young leader with one thing, it would be, why do you do what you do? Evaluate in your life. Evaluate the why. Why do you post what you post? Why do you say what you say? Why do you do over spiritual prayers? Why do you do things like this? Why? Why? Are you trying to shine a light on yourself? Why do you want to preach? Why do you want a platform? If you sing, why do you sing in church? Is it to bring attention to yourself? Because then it turns into a show that shines on you, and you're not properly reflecting the light that you're supposed to. And that's never a good thing, because everybody else can tell but you. When you're trying to get recognition for yourself, you're gonna have trouble ever reflecting his light properly. So we need to evaluate ourselves. Why do we do what we do? Because it's not about bringing recognition to ourselves. We see in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, it's all about our lives, the reason we do what we do, the motive behind it, the drive behind it, is it's all about bringing glory to him. And so in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16, it says this, it says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds. See, your good deeds aren't for people to see how spiritual you are in your show. Your good deeds are supposed to show that you're living a grace-infused life that you couldn't live without his grace. And it's supposed to shine a light on his glory. And so can I ask you to evaluate the why behind the what that you're doing? And if you're taking notes, write that down. Evaluate the why. I think it's so important. I think motives in this whole thing are so important. Because your motives determine whether you're just trying to be recognized and shine your own light, or you're trying to reveal and reflect his. And it's only when we try to reveal and reflect his that we're truly ever able to make the impact that we were called to make. I believe here at the U that the series Parables has been challenging for each and every one of us, because I believe God is taking us to another level, both individually and collectively, so that we can make even more of an impact of shining glory on, hey, it's not about us, but it's all about him. It's about a movement of grace that Jesus has filled our lives with his grace, with his empowerment to rise above the things that once held us bound. And now that we're able to do that, we can't help but want to shine a light on the one who saved us, who raised us, and who gave us his grace to live a better life. See, God's grace always propels you to better, and God's grace will always cause you to reach out and try to pull someone along into it with you. I believe we're called to go into the night. I hope that over the next few weeks, you have a stir in your heart to really be that light as you go out there. To not only be the light that people take notice of, but to even invite people knowing that you are light and they need it. See, we're called to invade those spaces with hope, help, and healing, where people were broken and hurting and helpless and lost and dying. And I believe that that's exactly what we're gonna do. Can we